Frigidaire. It means the first electric refrigerator. The first compact electric range. Now, there's the Frigidaire Gallery Range with Symmetry double ovens. It's designed to cook multiple dishes at multiple temperatures, so you can prepare the entire meal at the same time. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Watch Dr. TV on over-the-air channel 13.9.
We need help to find this missing child. Patrick Alford was 8 when he went missing. He was last seen in Brooklyn, New York in January of 2010. This is what we believe he looks like today at age 12. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Patrick Alford home.
Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. Glad you're along. Today's topic, it is the main topic as we approach the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. We'll talk about the Pope's statements last weekend that basically recognized it as a genocide. You're welcome to call in at 436-ME-TV option 11. We have two experts in the house to talk about this. We're back with our program here on a Friday morning in just a moment.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Glad to have you along here on a Friday morning on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. It is the weekend already, and we're going to talk about Monday's show just for a moment. We've been planning Monday's show for quite some time because about a month or so ago, maybe a little longer, I went out to San Luis Reservoir with Roger George. He is the fishing expert, the writer for the Fresno Bee, and we actually went fishing, and we'll show you all the video clips of all the fish that we caught. I mean, these things were like 32, 34 inches long. They were big fish that we caught out there. So Roger is going to be here on Monday morning to talk about that. Matter of fact, if you saw Wednesday's Fresno Bee, Roger George had an article about this show and the fact that he's going to appear on this program on Monday morning. In the meantime, I want to let you know that you're watching us live each and every Monday through Friday on Comcast Cable Channel 187. But if you have a digital antenna that you purchased right here at Ventura TV, you're probably watching us on 43.6 or 13.1. Those are the live broadcasts. And then some of you have called in to ask us about the replays. Hey, we got those up and running again. We had some problems there that we fixed. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, and then 8 o'clock tonight on 4.6 Biz TV. That's over-the-air broadcast. You can watch those with your digital over-the-air antenna and the Twitter account. Hey, got to put that up too, at John Mallos, Me TV. A very important program today because we're tackling the topic of the Armenian Genocide, and the Pope made history last weekend by calling the 1.5 25 million Armenians who were slaughtered between 1915 and 1919. The first genocide of the 20th century. This caused all kinds of havoc in the country of Turkey. We'll talk about that with our guest today. In the meantime, I want to roll the videotape of Pope Francis. He did this last Sunday at the Vatican. It was major news all over the world. Pope Francis made those shocking statements during a mass inside St. Peter's Basilica, a ceremony that was attended by the Armenian church leaders, including the president himself, Berj, who praised the Pope for having the courage to speak up. In a nutshell, here is exactly what the Pope said. I'm paraphrasing now, of course. In the past century, our human family has lived through three massive and unprecedented tragedies. The first, which is widely considered the first genocide of the 20th century. It struck your own Armenian people, the first Christian nation, as well as Catholic and Orthodox Syrians, Assyrians, Chaldeans, and Greeks. Bishops and priests, religious, women and men, the elderly, even defenseless children, and the infirm were all murdered. The remaining two were perpetrated by the Nazism and Stalinism, and more recently there have been other mass killings like those in Cambodia, Rwanda, Burundi, and Bosnia. It seems that humanity, the Pope went on to say, is not capable of putting a stop to the shredding of innocent blood. Dear Armenian Christians, he went on to say, today our hearts are filled with pain, but at the same time with great hope that there is a risen Lord. Live in our studio right now is Berj Apkarian. He is the honorary consul to Armenia. He is an expert on the topic of genocide. And Mark Shirin, the owner of Ventura TV and Ventura Broadcasting, and a deacon in the Armenian Church as well. They are here to answer your questions. This is actually, when you stop and think about it, it took place a week ago, last weekend. It really is stunning news that the Pope came out and basically said, yes, the first genocide of the 20th century, yet to be recognized by this country, my friends. 436-ME-TV, option 11. Got to weigh in on this one, a very important topic. Back in just a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Francisco Molina Nieve has been on the run since March 2008. The police and the FBI need your help tracking this coward down. He's wanted for brutally beating his girlfriend and for the use of a firearm. He has 3 freckles and a crescent shape under his right eye. Call the Colorado FBI at 303-629-7171 if you know where he's hiding.
You can find movies on over-the-air channel 13.3. Movies. Our name says it all.
Got to tell you, my friends, some of the documentaries that have been made about the Armenian Genocide and, of course, the Holocaust are very difficult to watch, very difficult to talk about. And so this news with Pope Francis coming out, maybe it will give encouragement or shed the light on this country and others to finally recognize that, yes, the Ottoman Empire, obviously the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Empire during the Ottoman rule, they're the ones that committed this genocide between 1915 and 1919. I want to show you the headline in last Monday's Fresno Bee. It was just an outstanding cover right here, and it talked about the Pope. There is the Pope right there with one of the church leaders from Armenia. And our 2 guests are here to talk about this today, Berj Apkarian and Mark Shirin, both of the Armenian Church. And Berj, let me start with you. Should I use the word stunned? Were you stunned at what the Pope said?
No, absolutely not. I was elated. I was truly filled with joy, gratitude, and the first phrase came out of my mouth, God bless the Pope. It is absolutely fascinating to see the Western civilization being so silent about this issue, and not having the courage. I think Pope's statement really made a difference in terms of a couple days later, the European Parliament coming into having the same level of courage to accept the first genocide of the 20th century and call it as it is, and encouraging current government of Turkey to stand up and own it up and do what is right, accept responsibility, so that genocides will never take place again.
Mark, what was your reaction?
Actually, I was a little surprised, pleased and elated, but surprised, because I had been following this this particular event, for weeks in advance of the event. In fact, our own Nur TV, channel 31/7, ran the mass from St. Peter's live to the Fresno public.
Now, what station was that again?
That was on 31/7,
okay.
Our international channel, one of our international channels.
Okay.
And we ran it live from the Vatican that night. And of course, the Mass started at 1 a.m. And I think I was up till about 3, and until the Mass was completed. But prior to the beginning of the Mass is when the Pope actually delivered his message. And like I said, I had been following this because we were planning for the event. And in all the press releases from Vatican City, which is a sovereign government, and not only is the Vatican a religious institution, but it's also a sovereign government. What I was reading was that they're going to mark the 100th anniversary of the Great Crime, or in Armenian we say Medz Yeren. So I anticipated that because of the diplomatic relations between the Vatican and Turkey, that the Pope would probably use that word as opposed to the word genocide, which as Berj rightly mentioned, is calling a spade, because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. And do you think the Pope's message, and I want to get into later in the program about Turkey's reaction, but do you think the Pope's message will resonate in the future with our members of Congress to officially recognize this, or is it too much of a political hot potato, do you think?
I think there's a lot of pressure now because of what the Pope did. I think he set a precedent.
Yeah.
And I would not be surprised if President Obama called it a genocide this year on the 100th anniversary. I think minds are changing, and I think they're taking their cues from His Holiness Pope Francis. As Berj mentioned, the European Parliament recognizing it. Prior, several weeks earlier, the Cyprian government, they had already recognized it, but they made it a crime to deny the genocide through their legislation. So, there's France has recognized it. A lot of the major Western powers have recognized that the Armenians were subjected to the first genocide of the 20th century.
Yeah. Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Yes. The question I have is, was the genocide because of the cultural differences of the Ottomans and Armenians, or was it a Christian, Muslim, or Arab genocide, or a combination of both? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the call.
You can take a look at it from both aspects of it. Certainly the Ottoman Empire had a clear strategy internally to cleanse the empire from minorities and from the Christian minority, in particular the Armenians and the Greeks. And was it a state-level orchestrated event? Absolutely. Was it against a religion and the prosperity that the Armenians community brought forward? Absolutely. I think there were a true conflict at that moment in time, and they took the opportunity. The world was occupied by World War I, and they took the opportunity to execute the plan in a very clever fashion, hoping that no Armenian will survive.
Yeah, Mark, we got to go to break, but Mark, do you think that maybe they did this during that time period because the world was preoccupied with World War I at that time, and they thought, well, who's going to notice? Everybody's looking at World War I.
Well, that may be true, but I'd like to point out something that goes right to the caller's question, and this question was asked of His Holiness Aram I, the Catholicos of Cilicia, and it was asked by one of the Vatican press corps people, and they said, were Armenians massacred because they were Christians or not? And I'd like to read his answer because I think it's very enlightening. I think, and this is quoting His Holiness Aram I, I think they are putting deliberately these things in a wrong and debatable and dangerous context. I will tell you what happened against the Armenians. The genocide was not because the Armenians were Christians. This was part of the pan-Turkish ideology and politics and plans of the Young Turks. And the Armenians were a major obstacle in terms of realizing their pan-Turkish policy.
That's correct.
They wanted to bring all these nations and countries of common Turkish ethnicity and culture together under one pan-Turkish umbrella. And the Armenian persons were an obstacle. So they organized this crime, this genocide. Because of that, religion was not a factor. Now they're using religion in order to create this sensitivity between Christianity and Islam. This is not appropriate. So that's unquote. That's His Holiness Aram I's statement on that question.
Yeah, and he made that statement last weekend.
You know,
I maybe
think
during the week. Yeah,
it was probably during the week. I don't really have the date on this, but it was after the Mass at St. Peter's.
Well, he said it beautifully. Hey, we are here today talking about Pope Francis and his statements to the world last Sunday, actually, during a holy time. And he made his statements at the Vatican. We are here with Berj, Apkarian. He is, of course, the honorary consul to Armenia. And our guy here, Mark Shirin, who is a deacon at the church, the Armenian Apostolic Church right here in the city of Fresno. So your phone calls are welcome. Hey, this coming Friday, the 100th anniversary of the Armenian Genocide. We'll have a special show on that as well. But in the meantime, you're welcome to call in with your thoughts and your comments. Back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. He's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there! Officer Poncherello, ma'am. Frank Poncherello. Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada on
now
Chips.
On MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Back here on the program talking about the Pope's statements last Sunday, and we are here with Berj Apkarian and Mark Shirin. And Lauren, let's roll the videotape. We have some more video of the Pope making that statement at the Vatican last weekend. Surprising news. Many people were surprised and happy and relieved at the very same time. There is the Pope there. Pope Francis, and you guys are both church leaders. Let me ask you, first of all, before I get into his comments, I like this Pope Francis, and he really has a lot of courage, it seems to me. What do both of you think of the Pope? Mark, let's start with you.
I think it's a refreshing, it's a breath of fresh air, not only for the Catholic Church, but everyone that looks to the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church is one of the largest organized religions, one of the oldest, and one of the most powerful, and the Pope is kind of just done his thing. I mean, he's still very Orthodox and Catholic in his doctrine, but he's done things to really make him a cherished figure among not only Armenians but not only Christians but Catholics and not only Catholics but all Christians look to him, and he's respected in the Muslim circles as well. He's broken a few protocols, and he's he's done things that no other pope has done. He's a very humble man and a very courageous man, and he cares a lot for mankind in general.
I agree with Mark, and I want to add a couple other items that really describes the Pope. He is very strong on the principles that he believes in. So he's not going to give up. He's not a politician. And he demonstrated that on Sunday where he stood up representing over 1 billion Christians and stood up and strongly took the stand saying, I'm not going to dance around the world, the word of massacre versus genocide. He stood very tall, and because he has a conviction, he has the strong understanding that absence of such clear description of what happened, it's going to create even more opportunity for future genocides to continue. As a matter of fact, genocide is continuing right now as we speak in Middle East.
You know, this guy is not a stiff caller, is he, Mark? I mean, would you call him a trailblazer in a way?
Well, definitely. I think he's following one of his predecessors, a very beloved Pope, Pope John Paul II.
Yeah.
And what's interesting in his introductory remarks, he talked about the. Actually, it wasn't him. It was Catholicos Catechine I that thanked the Pope, because after the Mass, the two heads of the Armenian Church addressed the Pope from the ambion, from the which is the most important part of the cathedral in St. Peter's, and both Catechine I, the Catholicos, and Aram Catechine II and Aram I, both in their speeches or their homilies, recognize that Pope Benedict XV, not to be confused with the prior Pope that's retired. This is Pope Benedict XV, who reigned during the time of the genocide, was very instrumental in pointing out to the world what was happening exactly in Armenia.
Yeah. Now, this is Catechine II on the front page of the B, right?
That's correct.
Last Monday. What was his role there at the Vatican last weekend?
Well, he was invited as the head of the president of Armenia was invited, and the Catholicos of all Armenians, who is Catechine II, as leader of the worldwide Armenian Church, which numbers probably in the 8 to 10 million people. And His Holiness Aram I is the other head of the Armenian Church who reigns over a different geographical territory.
So they were all there, Berj, at the Vatican?
Yes.
During the Pope's speech?
Absolutely. And both were invited by His Holiness Pope Francis, as well as the President of Republic of Armenia, because he was going to make a very strong statement. He was going to stand up very tall and make a powerful statement, and that's why he wanted the entire Armenians' leadership on political as well as religious side to be present at that historic moment.
Yeah, so this was pre-planned, no question.
There's no doubt in my mind that Pope was determined. As I said earlier, he's a man of a principle, and he was not going to be hiding behind political statements and not take the strong stand that he did.
Exactly right. He did not dance around the issue. He called a spade, as everyone knows, last Sunday at the Vatican. We're here with Berj Apkarian, the honorary consul to Armenia, and Mark Shirin, a deacon at the Armenian Church here in the city of Fresno. You're welcome to call in. We have an open line here on a Friday, 436-ME-TV, option 11, if you want to call in. Back in just a moment.
Euronews, most watched news channel in Europe.
We need help to find this missing child. April Andrews went missing when she was 15 years old. She was last seen in Pea Ridge, Arkansas in November of 2006. This is what we believe she looks like today at 23. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring April Andrews home.
The Armenian Genocide, the 100th anniversary is coming up, and for the life of me, sometimes I can't understand why Turkey just doesn't come out and admit that this actually took place. Why doesn't the world admit it and move on? And we can go from there, just like the Jewish Holocaust that took place during World War II. Anyway, we are here with Berj Apkarian, the honorary consul to Armenia, and Mark Shirin, a deacon in the Armenian Church. Before we move on with the conversation, I do want to play a soundbite from last Sunday's ceremony at the Vatican with the Pope, and he is Autumn the First. He is a pontiff, and he made this statement about the Armenian Genocide, a very, very powerful statement to the world. Listen.
My third point pertains to the Armenian Genocide. In fact, the Armenian Genocide is an unforgettable and undeniable fact of history, deeply rooted in the annals of modern history and in the common consciousness of the Armenian people. Therefore, any attempt to erase it from history and from our common memory is doomed to failure. In fact, in 1915, 1.5 million Armenians were victims of a genocide carefully planned and systematically executed by the Ottoman Empire of the time. Not only we lost 1.5 million Armenians, but thousands of Armenian monasteries, churches, community centers, humanitarian and social institutions, objects of spiritual and cultural immense value, were destroyed, lost, or confiscated.
A very powerful message coming last Sunday from Autumn the First. He is the pontiff, and I would imagine whether you're Armenian or not, one could get very emotional listening to that speech. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
And long overdue, I think. Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
I sure am. I have a question, and I'll listen to the answer on the air. My question is was there pressure placed on Francis to address the genocide, or was it his idea?
Thank you for that.
From my perspective, absolutely not. I think we all know His Holiness Pope Francis is a man of conviction, man of principle, and man of understanding, not recognizing the atrocities that were committed against the Armenians will be another foundation to continue the genocide. So he stood very tall, and he was under no pressure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with Berj. You know, Pope Francis is not new to this controversy. I mean, when he was the Cardinal of Buenos Aires, he for many years would attend genocide, because every year there's a remembrance for the genocide, and he would join with the Armenians and honor their memories every April 24th. So this was not a new subject for him, and he knew that it was a genocide, and he wanted to show his solidarity with the Armenians. And I don't believe he was pressured by anybody on the Vatican diplomatic corps. That's for sure.
Yeah, and Mark, you wanted to mention something else that happened during the service last Sunday, right?
Yeah, something very significant happened. It was planned, and basically, sometime in the beginning of February, there was an announcement from the Vatican that there would be a new doctor of the church recognized. Now, in the Catholic Church, you know, they have many saints, thousands of saints, in fact, but there's only a handful of doctors or theologians. In the Catholic Church, there are 35 total, and one of our saints, a medieval saint by the name of Saint Gregory of Nauti, who was a very mystical. He was a poet, a musician, a mystic, a hermit, you know, a monastic type of individual who was very prolific in his writing, wrote many, many books. And his most famous book was the Book of Lamentations. And that's been translated into many, many languages and available to, you know, people in all parts of the world. And it's recognized, internationally recognized as a masterpiece work. So the Catholic Church proclaimed St. Gregory of Nauti, an Armenian Apostolic Church saint, as doctor of the church. He's the 36th individual to be named doctor of the church, so it's very prestigious, very significant a proclamation that was made, and that proclamation was made from his throne.
Why is that a huge deal? I mean, I mean, you're probably looking at me and saying, well, you know, in shock. I'm not a theologian or a religious historian, so explain it to me in layman's terms why that's a big deal.
Well, as I said, there's only with Saint Gregory the Nauti, there's only 36 in the entire Catholic Church. That goes through history. We're talking at people like Thomas Aquinas and Saint Augustine and those type of individuals who were in that class.
Only 36 since the beginning of time.
Since the beginning of time.
Wow.
So I guess that's, and you might be able to amplify on that, Berj.
I think it's if you take a look at the historically as the number of individuals who have been recognized in the church, and for us to have one of our own, in particular, Saint Gregory of Nauti, to be added, to be elevated to that level, it is an absolute prestigious, highest level that any one of us could expect to see, and we are once again grateful to His Holiness Pope Francis for not only just recognizing the Armenian Genocide, but also adding St. Gregory to the doctorate level.
Okay, we're going to continue our conversation here about Pope Francis and making that proclamation, or making that huge statement that the genocide against the Armenians was the first genocide of the 20th century. He made that statement last Sunday during his service at the Vatican, of course, in Rome. Berj Apkarian is here, the honorary consul to Armenia, and also Mark Shirin, a deacon at the church. And you're welcome to call in on this Friday. We encourage your calls. Should the Armenian genocide be recognized by this country? Hey, that's the question of the day right there. And did Pope Francis make the right move in your eyes? 436-ME-TV, option 11. Back in a moment.
It's almost time. Now we'll find out once and for all about Clark Kent and Superman.
Look up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's a TV show.
Yes, but who is he? What's his name?
He's Superman.
Golly, Clark, won't that be wonderful seeing Superman
fighting a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and television the Me TV way.
No one can do the things that Superman does.
The Adventures of Superman.
Now on Me TV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program talking about Pope Francis, a guy who is, I wouldn't be surprised if I woke up one day and I saw Pope Francis skateboarding across Vatican Square. I mean, would it surprise you at all? I don't think so. I mean, he's that kind of guy. He's very upfront and honest, and it's like Mark said, it's a breath of fresh air. I do want to quote something out of the Fresno Bee that was in there last Monday, and it said in there, no surprise, kind of to be expected, Turkey immediately, their Turkish government, responded by recalling its ambassador and accused Pope Francis of spreading hatred and unfounded claims. I want to respond to that.
Are we surprised from that action?
No, I'm not.
Absolutely not. I think it's a pretty much expected reaction from a government who continues to deny the facts, and it saddens me personally to hear the current president of Turkey making statements such as, let the historians determine what happened, and not the politicians get involved in the decision making in terms of facts versus fiction. Historians have spoken. In the past 100 years, politicians have spoken, depicting what happened. What else do we need to present to them to understand the reality? I think it is a shameful picture that it gets created, and then political statements gets made or actions are taken, such as calling their ambassador or summoning Vatican's ambassador to the Foreign Ministry of Republic of Turkey and for consultation. So it is a predictable action, and that will continue as long as they continue to deny the facts and the genocide.
Yeah, they did the same thing to France, didn't they, Mark?
They did.
Yeah.
They've done it to many governments that have recognized the genocide. They recall their diplomatic representatives, and then soon the storm blows over and they reinstate, because they're a powerful economy, and they need to have trade with all these different countries. So this is that's a symbolic move. Never lasts. Diplomatic relations are always restored after the storm blows over.
Now, I want to urge all of our viewers to call in at 436-MeTV option 11, ask a question to our guest, and I also urge you, if you haven't gotten his copy, go down to the Fresno Bee and pick up a copy of last Monday's paper. Both Berj and Mark are quoted in the article, and I want to pick out a quotation that you gave the Fresno Bee, and I think it's very much to the point. And this is you. I'm quoting you now in the Bee. It says, the denial of the Armenian Genocide is the foundation for current and future genocides. Genocide is continuing in the Middle East. Unless the world says this is unacceptable, this will continue to be a tragic chapter in our history. And the question I guess I have for you is, you're basically saying you've got to recognize this genocide, or genocides will continue in the future?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, not in the future. Currently it's taking place. If we take a look at what's happening in the Middle East, in Syria, in Iraq, and the hatred against the Christians in particular, it's a demonstration of what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question. Francis broke the ice. How long before Obama follows suit?
I guess that's the $64,000 question. I guess we can't answer that when, but Mark had an idea, maybe sometime this year.
No, I think it might happen.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the ground is ready for that type of statement.
If he makes that statement, what in your prediction, or what in your heart of hearts tells you, what will Congress do?
I don't think Congress will do anything.
Congress has been trying to make a statement year after year after year. However, due to the political pressure from the State Department, from the White House, they continue to table the resolutions that speaks very clearly about what happened, the first genocide of the 20th century. I I remain very skeptical as far as what the Congress is going to do.
How many, I've always wondered this, besides the Armenians, were there other ethnic groups who were slaughtered along with the Armenians during the Armenian Genocide? Along with the Armenians that were side by side with them?
Well, your own people, John, the Greeks, were slaughtered. The Assyrians, many Christian groups, the Chaldeans, which are the
hang on, caller.
The Christians that are Assyrian by lineage, but Catholic by faith. So and Catholic. So there were many Christian people living in those same areas that the Armenians were living during the genocide, and they were all slaughtered because they were all obstacles to that pan-tourism, Turkishism that was the grand plan to make a collection of Turkic peoples across, in a crescent shape, basically, across not only Turkey but Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan and all these other Turkic people. So the Armenians were an obstacle because they lived in those lands. They lived in those lands for over 3,000 years.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is the Catholicos Aram the First, who we just saw a few minutes ago, on behalf of the Catholicosate of Cilicia, which is currently located in Beirut, Lebanon, has made a claim to the Turkish High Court asking for return of the lands of the ancient Catholicosate of Cilicia located in Sis, which is part of Cilicia. We can go back to that after your call, if you have a call.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with both Berj and Mark. Go ahead.
Yeah, John, what would your guest recommend a non-Armenian could do to maybe help facilitate this? I mean, write a letter to our representative, call our representative, sign a petition, something like that.
I thank you for calling, number one, and I appreciate your perspective. I would urge you to stand up, just like Pope Francis, who stood up very strong and very decisive fashion, and speak up. Write to your congressman, write to your senators, speak up, because this issue does not just pertain to Armenians. This is man's inhumanity to man. So we need to stand up tall so that we can avoid future genocides to take place.
Absolutely.
You know, I think now most of the congressional offices and the Senate office, as well as the White House, have 800 numbers you can call, and they will record your message. So you know, sometimes it's difficult for people to come up with a letter and mail it to all these offices. But you can look up on the Google the numbers of the offices, congressional and senatorial offices, and let them know. And now's the time to pick up the phone.
Will it make a difference?
I believe it will.
Yeah. Okay, we're talking with Berj Apkarian, the honorary consul to Armenia, and Mark Shirin. We're back with our program here. We do have a call, but I'm going to put that call on hold to take a break. We're back in just a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Alvaro Chavez is wanted by the FBI in Chicago for selling cocaine. A member of the violent street gang, the Almighty Latin Kings Nation, he has a tattoo of a woman and his name on his right arm. He could be hiding out in California, Illinois, or Mexico. If you know where he is, call 312-421-6700.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
We're back here on the program. I'm so glad you're here on a Friday morning on Connect with me on MeTV Fresno, talking about one of the most important issues of our generation, our time, or any generation, anytime. It's the Armenian Genocide, the 100th anniversary coming up a week from today. All sorts of ceremonies going on around the city in the Central Valley. We'll talk about that with our guests. Caller, are you there? Go ahead.
Yes, good morning, John. And before I say anything, I just want to say thank you for doing this show. As an Armenian here in the Valley, this is, near and dear to my heart. So with that said, I have a question for your guests, Mark and Berj. I recently read something online that there were possibly some archives stored at the Vatican that had to do with the genocide or research on the genocide. And I was wondering if they could speak to that, if they were aware of any information. And then a second follow-up or separate question was, were there any ties with the Germans and the Turks during the time of genocide? I've also heard that before, and I really don't know too much about it. Maybe they can enlighten myself and our viewers. Thank you. I'll take my answer over the air.
Good question. Any ties to the Germans?
Well, as you may know, World War I, Germany and Turkey were allies. They were in partnership against during the war. There are a lot of discussions out there that perhaps Germany had a indirect role in the genocide, or a silent partner in that equation. Mm-hmm. So I'm not definitive about that aspect of it. There are a lot of research about it, and so we need to take a look at it in more depth. However, the Vatican have articulated, and particularly in the recent times, that yes, they have a lot of archives related to the Armenian Genocide materials, in their archives in the Vatican.
We're looking at some of the disturbing images, of course, from the genocide, 1915 to 1919. And what do you think some of those documents hold that the Vatican has?
Well, I'd like to just give you a little background on those documents, because there's a recently published book by a German historian, Michael Hessemann, and he was in Rome for this special mass on Sunday, but he's written a book, and he kind of stumbled on these Vatican archives because he was doing a profile on a German bishop. He was doing a profile on a Catholic bishop, and went into the archives to finish his work, and it happened to be the person who became Benedict the 15th, the bishop. And let's see, I think I have his name here somewhere. But anyway, he was doing a biography on him, and then he stumbled upon these Vatican. They're called the private documents. Or secret documents, but the better translation would be private documents, and they were basically confidential documents that the Vatican kept, just like any other sovereign government would keep. And he stumbled upon these, and they were very enlightening about what happened during the genocide, what his cardinals and bishops from other parts of the Ottoman Empire were writing to the Pope at the time, and what the Pope did, in fact, to pressure the Ottoman Turkish government to stop what they were doing.
Interesting. All right. Let me ask you about, as we roll some more videotape, I guess we have some videotape of the genocide and some of the disturbing figures there, and what happened with the Armenian people, and many other people of different cultures were involved as well. What about Hitler in World War II? How much was he inspired by the Armenian genocide, in your opinion, Berj?
Well, I made my statement earlier to you. I think a failure to recognize the genocide during that time truly became the foundation for Hitler to be very clear that the world remains silent on the Armenian genocide. Who remembers the Armenians, after all? That we heard that famous phrase, and so it gave literally a carte blanche for him I do not want to call mastermind, but orchestrate the Jewish Holocaust. So it is absolutely proven that denial of the Armenian genocide became a true foundation for the Jewish Holocaust. There's no question.
Was Hitler trying to mimic what happened to the Armenians?
I'm not too sure if he was trying to mimic, but I believe he was very clear in his mind that 1.5 million Armenians died, the world remains silent. What's going to happen if I do what I'm trying to do? It's very clear. It's just the world is silent.
Yeah.
So,
John, I'd like to just point out a couple things. I know we're getting close to the end of the show, and I'm wondering if you could ask our guest, Berj, a couple things. Number one, he appeared on a very important program on PBS last night. And secondly, he's in charge of a huge project on the campus of Fresno State. I'd like him to talk about that.
Yeah, I got to take a break, and then we'll come back and address those two issues. We're talking with Berj Apkarian, the honorary consul to Armenia, Mark Shirin, who is a deacon at the Armenian Church here in the city of Fresno. Back in just a moment.
We need help to find this missing child. Erica Parsons was 13 when she disappeared. She was last seen in Salisbury, North Carolina in November of 2011. This is what we believe she looks like today at age 16. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678.
The Ballad of Andy and Barney. Andy and Barney were lawmen, bravest you ever did see. Warned every crook in the record book to stay out of Mayberry. They were the law.
Yes, they were the law, and they didn't know fear.
The Andy Griffith Show.
I guess to sum it up, you could say there's 3 reasons why there's so little crime in Mayberry. There's Andy, and there's me. And baby makes 3.
Now on MeTV Fresno.
We're back here on our program today on Connect With Me. Running out of time. 436-MeTV option 11. If you want to call your congressman, your senator, you want to call the White House, the congressional phone numbers, by the way, in your local phone books, if you still know what that is. You know what a phone book is? I don't know. It's in the front section of the phone book under U.S. governments. I don't know how many people actually have phone books these days, but you never know. Anyway, Berj, what is your job as the honorary consul to Armenia? What do you do on day in and day out?
Well, it's a great honor for the Valley to have such a position. The honor and the privilege belongs to the community. The office cannot be as effective as it could be without the support of the entire Armenian community. My role is to foster closer economic commerce ties between the Central San Joaquin Valley and the Republic of Armenia, and also from the consular paperwork processing in terms of issuing passports, visas, or affidavits, and those kind of stuff. Those are the minimum, not the more focal point. But more importantly, we are involved in a major task right now in commemoration of the centennial. As you may know, I've been chairing a major project which will be unveiled next Thursday night at 7:30 at California State University Fresno campus. It's the centennial monument dedicated for the Armenian Genocide, not just to focus on honoring our martyrs, but also a point of education and inspiration for the next generation to never forget what happened.
And what other ceremonies, quickly, we're kind of running out of time here, what other ceremonies taking place on Thursday of next week?
On Thursday, 3:30 in the afternoon, on a corner of M and Santa Clara, thanks to the Mayor Ashley, we are going to unveil a name, Armenia Street. Santa Clara will be renamed per se, and Consul General from Los Angeles will be here. And then in the evening, thanks to the President Castro, we will unveil the monument, which has been an inspiration, and thanks to the generosity and support of the entire Armenian community and non-Armenians as well.
All right, and quickly, you were on a program last night on PBS. We had the president and the CEO of PBS, Valley PBS, here on our program just a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about special program that was going to air on PBS regarding the Armenian Genocide.
Yes.
Now, what you were on the program last night?
Yes, I was on the program, and I am honored that I participated in the pledge drive as well. I congratulate Valley PBS for their show. Sarah Sogomonian in particular, she did a fantastic job working with Elizabeth Laval and others. The show is called Valley of Hope, From Tragedy to Triumph. And it's going to be airing tomorrow, Saturday afternoon at 4 p.m. on PBS, and also on the April 24th as well. So I truly encourage, because it just depicts the life of the Armenians for the past 100 years in the central San Joaquin Valley. They did a great job.
Yeah, Mark, it's too bad we can't somehow rebroadcast that on our stations, on Ventura Broadcasting, that Valley of Hope program. It's supposed to be quite an inspiration. But, you know, as we look forward here to the ceremonies next Thursday, the 100th anniversary means what to you, Mark?
You know, before I talk about that, I just want to correct myself, because I made a statement about this author, this Michael Hesseman.
Okay.
He was writing about Eugenio Pacelli, who was the future Pope Pius the 12th, and when he discovered these archives. So,
okay.
You know, the 100th anniversary is an important milestone for any event, and especially the 100th anniversary of the genocide. But I want to tell you that there's a very important thing that's happening in Armenia at the same time it's happening on April 23rd. Of course, they're about 12 hours ahead of us. But in the Holy Cathedral of Echmiadzin, which is the head of the Armenian Church, the headquarters, there will be a special service to sanctify, to canonize the April martyrs. We're going to call them the April martyrs because we don't know the exact number of martyrs. Some people say it's 1.5 million. Some people say it's 2 million. They're going to be canonizing the April martyrs. The two Catholicoi, Aram I and Karakin II, will be present. Special service in Echmiadzin about 4 p.m. Armenia time.
Right.
That's huge. So this is an important date for us.
You know, one thing that I do want to point out, because many people have pointed this out during the Jewish Holocaust during World War II, we should honor also those people that were on the ground at the scene at the time that helped protect some of the Armenians and try to save them during the genocide, as they did during the Jewish Holocaust. A lot of people put themselves in harm's way and were killed themselves. So we should obviously pay homage and honor to them as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely, I agree. As a matter of fact, in the same vein, the genocide monument that is being built or will be unveiling next Thursday, it recognizes not only the Armenian genocide but all genocides.
Right.
And we thank all the missionaries and all the governments, including our own government of the United States, for their humanitarian efforts during the genocide and after the genocide, taking care of the orphans and facilitating them to arrive to the United States and give them hope and prosperity and future. I think that's an absolute tremendous congratulations to all these individuals.
And again, Valley of Hope is what time tomorrow on PBS?
Tomorrow, 4 p.m. in the
4
afternoon.
p.m.
Yeah, without any commercial, without any pledge drive. So I encourage everyone to take a look at it because it's a sign of inspiration.
Got to see it.
You know, there's one important thing that you mentioned about you know, remembering the people that helped the Armenians, but there were some righteous Turks at that time too that took people in and hid them from the authorities. So we should recognize them too.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thank you. Berj, you got to come back.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Great job. All right,
Thank
great
you.
job on PBS and great job here today.
My
Berj,
pleasure.
Apkarian, the honorary consul to Armenia, and Mark Shirin, a deacon in the church, obviously the president here at Ventura Broadcasting. See you Monday with Roger George and all those video clips and videotapes of me and Roger fishing. Yes. See you Monday. Have a great and blessed weekend.